Today we will discuss about a device which is known as enlarger. Enlarger is used to make prints both from color or black and white negatives. Enlargers can also be used for making prints from slides or transparencies. Prints made with an enlarger are called enlargements. Typically, enlargers are used in a dark room in which no extra light is allowed to enter. But there are enlargers which have a box type of arrangement where even in the daylight also enlargements can be made. There are two types of enlargers. First, the condenser type and then the diffuser type. A condenser enlarger has basically four elements. Firstly, the light source. Secondly, the condensing lens. Thirdly, a flat piece of metal to hold a negative, and fourthly, the lens itself through which the light is projected, the image is projected. The condenser provides even illumination to the negative beneath it. The condenser type enlarger produces higher contrast than the diffuser type. The reason is that the light is scattered as it passes through the negative because of the silver content. Final result is that the image is high contrast, it has dirt, it has scratches, and even the image grain is very clearly visible in this kind of enlarger. On the other hand, in the case of a diffuser type enlarger, the light source is diffused by use of a plastic or a translucent sheet. As a result, the prints that we get from this kind of enlarger are evenly illuminated and almost like the ones that we get on a contact print. Let us now see the various parts of an enlarger. First of all, it is the baseboard. The baseboard is a strong place on which the enlarger stands. The next is the easel. Easel is a movable frame on which the printing paper is put and enlargement is made. That is, the image is put onto this paper when the paper is inside the easel. The next and the most important part of the enlarger is the enlarger head, which consists of the light source, which consists also of the condenser, the film carrier, and the lens. Next is elevation knob, with which we can move the enlarger head up or down depending upon the size of image that we require to make on the easel. Then we have the negative carrier. The negative carrier is a frame by itself within which we put the negatives, and it is only that portion of the negative which is lighted through the illuminating source. The next part is the focus knob. It's a knob with which we focus the image onto the paper which is put into the easel. Next part is bellows. As we discussed earlier on also, bellows are the extendable portions of any equipment, whereby you can increase or decrease the distance between the film and the enlarger and get an image of your size. The next and yet another important part of an enlarger is the enlarging lens. It comes in various sizes and brands, and without this you cannot make an image. Let's now see the principles of operation of a condenser type enlarger. A condenser type enlarger consists of a light source with mirror reflector and a condensing lens. The directional light then passes through a film holder which may hold a negative or already developed and processed. The negative image is then projected through the iris, that is the aperture of the enlarging lens, which forms an image on the easel. We can get various sizes of enlargement by moving the enlarger up or down, by increasing or decreasing distance between the easel and the lens. We will now see the size of enlargement that can be made. The quality of enlargement depends on two factors. One is the grain of the film on which we expose, and second is the sharpness of the enlarging lens and also of the camera lens, which will tell us as to what size can an enlargement be made. Besides the enlargers for black and white negatives or slides, we also have enlargers for color negatives and color slides. The point to note is that in the case of color negative enlargers, we have filters between the light source and the paper, which are cyan, magenta and yellow, and these are exposed as per the requirement of the final product. Let us now see how an image is exposed. First of all, we put the negative into the carrier. We have the enlarger. We can switch on the light. We can see the image down below, and once we are satisfied with the size of the image and the sharpness of the image, then we block it by using a red filter. This is where you can put a enlarger paper. This paper is normally put on the easel, but however, if the size of the enlargement is much higher or much bigger, then we can do away with the easel and put the paper on the baseboard itself. To get even bigger enlargements, we can project this image onto the wall and yet take a picture depending upon the size of paper available to us. Usually the enlarger is focused by moving the bellows up and down and to get the sharp image. Now the actual process is that we first put the negative into the enlarger and then we see the image on the flat board or in the baseboard. If we are satisfied, then only we shutter the light by using a filter and then we put the paper underneath. First of all, we like to take a test sheet, a test paper, whereby we can work out as to whether the timing is correct, because it has to be exposed with a timer, and if the timing is correct, we develop that particular image, a test paper is developed, and then once we are satisfied that we are getting the proper black and white tones or the color tones, or when we are getting the correct kind of sharpness in the image, then only we go in for the larger sheet which is to be actually exposed. This is a process whereby you can get a better image or the real quality image, which otherwise you will not be able to get in case you just expose the image and hope that it will come out correctly. Therefore, using a test paper or a sheet of paper of a reasonable size to see whether the picture is properly exposed is absolutely necessary. As I said, we need a timer, and the timer could be electronic. Normally it is electronic timer which works out the timings for us, and we can expose the film for as long as the timer is fixed, and thereafter the image is developed, put into the baths, various baths which we will describe later on, and finally a product is, a film or a print is achieved. Sometimes what happens is that people with experience do not use the timer, they do it by experience. They can do it by tapping their feet, they can do it by counting in their mind, they can do it by any other means, depending upon how good or how proficient the person working in the dark room is. The paper, once exposed, is developed right away. It is put into the developing bath and then into the stop bath and then into the fixer and finally into the rinse, and thereafter it is dried for viewing later on or say for use. Now let us see these 3-4 baths that I have talked about. Firstly, as I mentioned, the exposing part, the exposing of the paper is by itself very interesting. It is very challenging, and some people, as I said, they use timer, they use their own methods of exposing the paper. Then in the developing bath, one can see the image, since the image is not shown on the paper when it is under the enlarger. this picture, the image can be seen in the developing path. That is to say, we see the image gradually coming up and to our requirement. Once it is to our requirement or for a particular piece of time, depending upon the chemicals that we are using, we take that image out and put it in the stop bath. Stop bath, the very function of stop bath is to stop further development of the image. If we take the film, the print from the developer to the fixer, we will ruin the fixer, because fixer has a different role to play. When the print goes into the fixer, it has to be totally free from all other chemicals. Therefore, stop bath is absolutely necessary. It is for a particular time, normally 1 to 2 minutes, and then the print is taken out from stop bath and put it in the fixer, where again, depending upon the fixer, that whether it is from Kodak or from Agfa, which have different timings, we put it in the fixer and we let the image fix for a particular time. Once the image is fixed for a particular time, we remove it, we put it in the another bath, which is known as rinse, where all the chemical is diluted, it is finished off, and what you get is a print, a picture which is as per your requirement. You can hang it for drying up, and once it is dry, it can be used or it can be further treated. It depends upon the kind of paper that we are using. If it is a glossy paper, we might have to use another system. If it is a matte paper, then you have to do nothing, just to dry it up and give it to the client or give it to the whosoever it is meant for. Let us now see the advantages of an enlarger. As I have been indicating earlier also, the first advantage is that you can make an enlargement of the size that you want, right from say 4 by 6 or say postcard size right up to a wall size, depending upon this negative, the size of the negative, the quality of the negative, and the enlarger and the space available to you. One can make any amount of large size as you want. The second advantage of the enlarger is that you can control the print. You can control the quality of print. It is bigger than the contact print, yet it is better than the contact print, because you can see more details, you can see a better picture, you can see many more things which otherwise you cannot see in a contact print. The next advantage of making a print is that you can control it by burning or by dodging. Very famous two ways of doing it. Throwing a particular amount of light on a particular part of the frame or of the picture will give different results. For example, if we give more light to a particular portion, we want it to be deeper, we want it to be darker, then we are burning it. So burning can deepen the particular part of the project of the picture. On the other hand, dodging is a technique whereby you can control the light from falling onto the paper. That is to say, less amount of light is allowed to reach the paper. Therefore, when you ultimately print the paper, you will see that the areas which you wanted to be darker have come out to be darker, and the areas which you wanted to be lighter have really come out to be lighter. This technique is very commonly employed. It is very useful and it must be practiced. The other advantage of using an enlarger is making of a composite image, or say overlaying another product on the paper itself and getting an image of your choice. It can be used for a collage purpose. It can also be used for making an abstract or an impressionist image. Let us talk about the automated print machines, which are being used extensively for printing. Now, what happens in this is, whatever the principles are there in the case of a manual enlarger, the same principles are followed. However, since it is computerized, the entire data is fed into the computer or to the enlarger through the computer, and an image is made. While in the case of a manual enlarger, the print is made on a piece of paper. Light is thrown on the paper. In the case of automated machines, it is all computerized. It is fed into the system, and then ultimately when it is ready, then one by one the 3 lights are shown onto the paper and an image is made. In this, what happens is that the sharpness, the contrast and other data is fed into the computer, and then accordingly it works. One doesn't have to really wait and do the timer and all, or do the tapping. It is just that computer does everything for the print to be made. And the best thing about this is that this very data can be used for making enlargements of different sizes. You don't have to do it like in the case of manual enlarger, that for every enlargement you need a different set of timings. In this case, the timings, the sharpness, the other things, other data is, the contrast is fed, and you can make any size of enlargement. Another advantage of this kind of machine is that you can make compact discs and keep the data recorded elsewhere for use in, say, reprinting or some other time. However, the point to note is that due to the inherent problems of digitization, the quality of print will not be the same as that of the one which was done originally. As we know, normally the quality goes on deteriorating as we go on using the same picture again and again, like it happens in the case of Photoshop, for example. When we make the film, we use the picture, we save the picture again and again, the quality goes down. Similarly, in the case of compact disc also, the quality of picture will not be the same as it was there when it was first printed. The best course open is that since the data is available in the computer, every time you want to get a picture made or a print made, you go to the printer, same printer, that is the same lab, and tell him to print the same data, to print the picture using the same technical data available to him. Sometimes this data can be found at the back of the print also. During this lecture, we have tried to see as to what is an enlarger, the types of enlarger, the advantages of enlarger, the diffuser enlarger or the condenser type enlarger, and also the color enlargers or the so-called automated machines. Today, with the change in technology, more and more people are using the automated system of printing, and this printing process has its own advantages and disadvantages, which I have already described. However, this is going to stay here, and as I said, it is better to go to the same printer, to the same lab, to get the same enlargements made in any size. It will give you the same results as was done, unless of course the paper quality is different, which can happen because paper manufactured by X may not give the same performance as paper manufactured by a Y company.